So we all have our particular quirks, our little oddities and weirdnesses, the things that make us different. But don't worry, my little snowflake, that's actually pretty normal. Mine just so happen to be semi-crippling anxieties and random bouts of depression. Doubts run through my head constantly of what if I'm wrong? What if I fail? I'm almost 30 years old. Why am I not more successful by now? And these dark thoughts and things can just seep into your front brain and ruin your productivity, not to mention your personal life. But it's something that I've always dealt with. So the question for me has never been, what do I do if it happens? It's, what do I do when it happens? What do I do to get over this particular round and wait for it to come around again? Because personally, it's always seemed like too big of a battle to just beat it back entirely. But, you know, if I just cut out this particular chunk that I'm dealing with right now, I can actually kind of deal with that a little bit. It seems much more simple to just gird my defenses for this particular storm, and then when it passes and the next one starts rolling around, I'll be a little bit more ready. It seems to work fairly well for me, and this particular video is actually made as one of those girding mechanisms that I was kind of talking about. So if you're ever feeling anything like what I described, I can offer you 3 big tips that I use to get through my bad days, and maybe they'll give you a little bit of help. The first, and sometimes the hardest step, is to deal with the source of your anxiety or depression directly. If it's trouble with another person, then talk to them, using a neutral third party if you have to, and use your words to come to a much better place. You'll feel better for doing it. It is a little bit harder to do if your worries are slightly more esoteric, say about money or love or general bluzz, you know? But you'd be surprised how many times I've saved myself days of feeling terrible by just identifying and dealing with the source. That does require a bit of effort on your part to figure out exactly what it is and deal with it, but no one said conquering your depression was going to be easy. It requires a certain amount of effort from you and a want to change that particular part of you. And if the will doesn't come from you, then there's not much that the outside world can do to help. Number 2, if the source isn't quite as simple or as easily accessible as all of that, then maybe it's time to find a good outlet. Most people simply suggest finding a hobby, but it's a little bit more specific than that. The best kinds of hobbies to pick up are ones that are semi-physical with actual tangible rewards at the end of them. Something that requires some sort of skill that you can get better at. And some days you won't feel like going and doing it, but guess what? That's when you have to summon up the force of will and just go and do it anyway. Find some sort of other activity that you can associate with it if you have to. Like, say you're going to the gym to get that semi-physical aspect of it, as a terrible example. And then afterwards you go to the arcade and spend $5 every time you go to the gym. It actually kind of builds excitement for getting to go because you know that at the end of it you're going to get a reward, and you know that by the time you finally get good enough to beat Turtles in time, you'll be freaking ripped. And remember to start slowly, building over time. There's no need to rush out and buy a 500-piece 3D puzzle set and think that you're going to put it together perfectly the first time. That's only going to get you frustrated and angry, which leads right back into that vicious cycle that we're wanting to avoid. Personally, cooking fills that role for me. I actually really enjoy throwing together a nice meal whenever I'm feeling down. Halfway because after all this time of dealing, I've actually become a pretty decent cook. And half because making the kitchen spotless afterwards indulges some OCD tendencies, and I kind of get them settled as well. Model making, knitting, tai chi, rock climbing, ultimate ninja frisbee. Whatever the activity might be, as long as you keep doing it, as long as you keep getting better at it, A, you'll have another skill under your belt, which will B, make you feel better about yourself, and C, give you something new and interesting to yammer on about to all the new friends you're making. Number 3, and this is the most important way for me, find some way to express yourself. Find someone who will listen. A piece of paper or a blank canvas that needs filling. A wall that needs coloring. And just let it out. Do an interpretive dance of what it feels like to be broken up with. Write a haiku about how much bills suck. Has anyone ever called you fat or lazy or stupid? Then go out and do something directly to oppose that. Or don't. Choose to do something in line with what they're making fun of you of and own up to it. Because guess what? However you choose to express yourself about how you're feeling, you're going to be expressing yourself and you're going to be letting it out. And ultimately, you will feel better. Once you've given these thoughts and feelings some sort of form and expression, they feel much more real and manageable than they did when they just lived up in your head. But most of all, when you're dealing with this, remember that you're not alone in the world. You're not the first person who feels the way that you feel right now. And there are a lot of other people, probably much closer than you think, who feel the same thoughts and emotions and ways that you do. And it's perfectly normal. It's perfectly natural. but it's not something you have to be at the mercy of. Take a minute. Take a breath. And if you've gone through all the steps and even made up some of your own, and you still can't do anything about it, then there is nothing wrong with reaching out for help. I'll put the links to some great resources down in the description if anyone feels the need, because not even I can go through this world alone. No one expects you to either. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and if you happen to know some neat ways to beat the blues, let me know down in the comments. I look forward to hearing them. Take care of yourselves, everyone. I'm thinking of you. And as always, we'll see you next time.